not profit organization. As in the previous class, that is in part 1, I have explained about the meaning of not profit organization. It means those are the organizations which are being established for the welfare of the society. For the welfare of the society, to render a service to the public, these are the institutions are being established. So the examples for non-profit organization we come across the government hospitals, government schools, government hospitals and public libraries, charitable institutions, public libraries and charitable institutions. These are the examples for not-profit organization. In the same way, there are the characteristics of the non-profit organization in this chapter. The main characteristic of a non-profit organization is in order to provide a service to the public and render a service to the public, and the second one come as it is a charitable institution. It is being established for the charitable purpose. These are the two characteristics. Then the books maintained under non-profit organization. In the last class I have explained. The books maintained by the non-profit organizations are, first one is cash book, where we come across to know all the details about the cash receipts and cash payment. Then ledger. In the ledger you'll come across to know about all the expenses and the incomes that is related to nominal account. A third one, a stock register, where you'll come to know about the membership fee received by the each members who are the members to the charitable institutions. So totally the books maintained under non-profit organization is cash book, ledger, stock register. In the same way, the financial statements which we prepare under non-profit organizations, also I have explained in the last class that financial statements are, the first one is receipt and payment account. Receipt and payment account. Receipt and payment account. In the receipt and payment account, we come across to know about all the receipts that is related to the cash book and the bank book, the total receipts and the total payments for the current year. Means the current year, by seeing that cash book and bank book, we prepare a receipt and payment account. The second one is income and expenditure account. The second one is income and expenditure account. In case of income and expenditure account, we are going to record all the expenses and all the incomes related to the non-profit organization and find out the net profit. We find out the net profit that may be in the form of surplus or may be in the form of deficit. In case of profit organization, we call it as a net profit, whereas case of income and expenditure account, we call it as a surplus or a deficit or excess income over expenditure and excess deficit over an income. In the same way, we prepare a balance sheet. In the balance sheet, we come across all the assets and liabilities and the capital. In case of the liability side, we come across to know the capital as well as the liability, whereas in case of asset, we come across to know the fixed asset and the current asset, whatever is been there, that is being recorded in the balance sheet. So these are the basic things. We come to know what is the meaning of non-profit organization, examples for the non-profit organization, the characteristics, then the books maintained by non-profit organization and the financial statements prepared by non-profit organizations. Here we come across some peculiar items. We come across in this chapter with some peculiar items till now we have not heard. That also I have explained in the last class regarding subscription. A subscription is an amount of membership which is being membership fee which is being received by non-profit organization, which is the main source for a non-profit organization. In the same way, I have explained about the life membership fee. The life membership fee is a one which is being received only once a while when he is being alive. And the third one is I explained about the legacies. in the legacies I said that it is a will written by a deceased person to a charitable institution. It may be a property or it may be a cash to a charitable institution. So whatever we receive, we call it as a legacies. Then we come across to know about honorarium. The honorarium means, I have explained in the last class, it is a salary which is being paid to the secretary who is working for the NPO. Honorarium. In the same way, we come across the government grants. I explained about the government grant also, the grant which is being taken from the government permission, the government grants. And entrance fee, we come across the entrance fee. In order to become a member of an organization, and a fee is being paid by the member in order to enter the NPO, so that we call it as an entrance fee. And here we come across a sale of old materials. If you are having the sports club, you will be getting the information about the sale of old sports materials, old newspaper selling. Then we come across to know different kinds of funds here: endowment fund, specific fund, such kind of fund. Endowment fund is also a kind of a fund. It is in the form of gift which is being received by the NPO, which is being received by an NPO. In the government grant also, I explained in the last class that what do you mean by government grant. And in the donations, we come across two types. One is specific donation and another one is general donations. Specific donations means which is been given for the specific purpose. General donations means which is been given for the general purpose. And usually the specific donations are always been capitalized and it is been shown on the balance sheet. Whereas general donations is a one which has been commonly paid, which will be in the small amount. We treat it as a revenue receipt and we show in the income and expenditure account on the receipt side. So I think all of you come to know about all these items. Even in the last class I have explained, even in this class also I explained. So here we come across with the capital fund. Till now in the profit organization, what you used to say, you used to write on the liability side the capital which is being invested by the partner or a share capital in case of the company. But here in the non-profit organization, capital means what we are going to take a capital means. Here the capital is being taken as a capital fund in NPO. So in NPO, if it is being given for the specific purpose of donation, we are going to capitalize it. So we treat it as a capital. Entrance fee, if it is a heavy amount, we treat it as a capital fund. If it is a life membership fee, we treat it as a capital fund. Such kind of amount which is being received in the form of income, it is being for the long term purpose. If we have received, we call it as a capital. We say it as a capital and we show on the liability side as a capital fund. And as usual, all the current assets and current liabilities. In the current liabilities, you come across the trade payables, provisions, outstandings, such kind of things will come. On the asset side, you come across the fixed assets. It may be land and building, machinery, plant and machinery, such kind of things. So now we are going to prepare a receipt and payment account by the given details. So in the problem, now the problem I am going to explain you about the receipt and payment accounts. Before that I said that I am going to explain you the practical oriented question for the 5 marks. In the last class I explained that I am going to explain in the next class the practical oriented questions. They give the 5 items in the exam in the section E. You need to write whether it is a revenue item or a capital item. So such kind of items which they give is, for example, classify the following items into revenue and capital. It may be the X-ray machine which is being purchased by a hospital. In the hospital they are going to purchase an X-ray machine. X-ray machine means it is a heavy amount which has been invested and purchased an equipment for the hospital. It is being considered as an asset for an hospital. So when we consider it as an asset for a hospital, whatever the items which come under the balance sheet, we call it as a capital items. And whatever the items which come under the income and expenditure, we call it as a revenue items. So in the same way, this X-ray machine, what they have purchased, we need to treat it as a capital expenditure. In the same way, interest received, whatever the interest you received, if any amount is being deposited from the NPO to the bank, and if the bank is giving any interest amount is being received by NPO, that's a common income which is being received by an NPO, so we treat it as a revenue item. In the same way, sale of old sports material, any sports material is being sold, old. For example, you see that balls, they have become old and they have made a sold out of the balls, bats, such kind of things, whatever the sports materials they sell out, that is being considered as a revenue item because we receive a small amount from that thing. In the same way, the fourth one, a carriage paid to the goods purchased. Whatever the carriage you pay for the goods purchased for the NPO, the regular expenses goods which have been purchased for the NPO, that is being treated as a revenue again. And the donations received for constructing a swimming pool. See, the donations which is being received for the constructing a swimming pool, it is being given specifically for the purpose. It is being given specifically for the purpose. So specific purpose, that is for the swimming pool. So we need to capitalize this amount. When we need to capitalize this amount, we need to treat it as a what? Capital item. So we need to treat it as a capital income or the capital receipt. So such kind of items, 5 things they will give, 5 items they will give. They say that to classify it into revenue and capital. They tell you to classify them into revenue and the capital. In the same way, classify the following into the capital and revenue. Honorarium paid. What do you say that honorarium paid? I have explained in the previous class in the peculiar items that honorarium paid is a salary which is being paid to the secretary. When the salary is paid to the secretary, we treat it as a revenue because it is an expense of the salary. Every month it comes. So we will take it in income and expenditure in the expense side. So honorarium paid is being treated as a revenue item. In the same way, installation charges paid for a new machinery purchase. If any installation is being paid, for example, you have purchased an AC for your home. When the installation charges is to be given for the person who has come to install that AC, whatever the amount you have incurred for payment of that installation charges, you are going to add it to the AC itself, for AC amount itself. Then it is being called as a capital item. So usually it is once a while, when you purchase only once a time you are going to make an expense, so we need to treat it as a capital item. In the same way, subscription to the newspaper. The subscription to the newspaper means every year or every 3 months or 6 months or how the newspaper offers you subscription, in such way you will be giving. So such kind of subscriptions which is being given for the newspaper will be very small amount. We need to treat it as a revenue item. And the carriage, then the cost of purchase of a new machinery. When you purchase a new machinery, the cost which is being incurred, it is been for a long term purpose. So that cost is being to be treated as a capital expenditure. Then donations which is being received for the construction of the building is also to be considered as a capital item. In the same way, the computer purchased by a college, it is also an asset. Computer is said to be an asset. We need to treat it as a capital. Life membership, I say that the fee which has been collected in his lifetime only once. So only once means a capital. Then the sale of machinery comes under the capital receipt because the machinery is an asset which you have sold out and the amount is being received. Subscription received from the members, again we need to treat it as a revenue. Then the annual spend for the upkeepment of the ground is also being treated as amount which is being spent for the upkeep of the ground is also be treated as a revenue item. So in the same way, the legances means I said that a gift which is being received by a deceased person after his death according to the will, which is once a while we are going